I feel like talking about how in those moments God does the cleanup himself.
Bro, let's talk about it.
God does the cleanup himself.
Let's talk about it.
Right.
I think that you asked me ahead of time, like, why Isaiah?
Yeah. Like, why, I know we're talking about Paul. We've been talking about Paul. We've been in Ephesians. And then Sunday, Isaiah's encounter is presented. Like, how'd you get from Paul to Isaiah?
Yeah. So, a lot of reasons. But one of the beautiful reasons, and to answer this question that you have, is because we see grace on display. Mm-hmm. I'm like, in this same moment where, due to having this encounter with God, he's thinking about a life that there's no way, like you're this God's perfection, how holy he is, like, we are all doomed are the words, is because this can't coexist. My lips are filthy. Not only mine, all of ours. And in that moment, when the world would tell you, even some bad pastors and some horrible Christians would tell you, God would judge you and God would condemn you. This is before the new covenant.
Yeah.
Before the new covenant. God looks at Isaiah in the middle of his unfilthiness and says, boss, I'll clean you up.
Right.
Like, that's not on you. Like, I got you. Like I will touch what you have called.
Boom. It's that part.
Unclean.
Right. I love that you pointed out that the recognition, like Isaiah saw himself. He's in the presence of God. He saw himself. He made this statement about his uncleanness. Unclean. God didn't bring it up. And then, but when he brought it up, God said, I could deal with that.
Which is amazing, right? Man, let me answer this. Let me do this, because this, I know this is a deeper dive.
You got it.
Like, so we be loving these preacher points, because then it says it's actually we didn't read this. I did read this, but we didn't dig into this. It says he then joined with the angels. So it's the Bible is showing us that the same thing that was unclean, like the same lips that were unclean. It's showing us that the very thing that you have determined, and you got to see these as like gifts. Like you're saying, man, like if I were to put this word, I've been rapping for the world. I've been creating for Satan. I've been using my gift to pervert people. What the Bible was showing us is God touched the very thing he was using to pervert people to now honor him. The same unclean lips then joined in praises with the seraphim.
That's good.
Honoring God. Yeah. Like there's a visual of God not throwing out what you determined was unuseful, but God touching what you had used pervertedly for his good. And then it's such a beautiful picture that God isn't trying to throw out who you are, right? But he will touch what you've even used perverted, like in an unclean way. Like this is immeasurably more. I just think about it, right? And so that's what he does.
Right.
In the same conversation.
In the same conversation.
Like he didn't leave, wash his lips. Yeah. It was impossible for him to clean himself. God assigns his angels, right? To which there's another picture. They get the stone from the altar because the altar represents the place of cleansing. And so I'm saying that to say also back to reverence. Like, how have we been treating our altars? Right? We know that the altar in the old covenant was a place, but the altar in the new covenant, it's the cross, right? But he's saying like that's our place of cleansing. So they pulled the coal from the altar, the place of cleansing. The cross is the place of cleansing. And he took it from there and touched him, the thing he saw unclean, the thing he thought could never be used, the thing that he was like, yo, this is what's going to get us doomed. He cleaned it. What we realize is the purification was instant.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You won 5 steps.
When 5 steps, when like going back to this, when you've seen God,
Right.
the commitment is there.
Yeah.
When God has touched you, the cleansing is immediate.
Yeah. We see the same thing with Paul.
It's immediate when God touches it. Right? We've been trying to clean ourselves. That's why it's a struggle. Like, boss, like, are you waiting on you to figure out how to purify yourself? Or are you waiting for God to touch what he sees as dirty? Or have you labeled it as dirty because that's what someone told you was dirty?
Right. Right.
Because if God saw it as dirty, he would purify you for the call instantly. It wouldn't be a problem. Like the addiction, gone. I was, man, I had an honor. Like there was somebody doing, what's the time?
No, we're good on time. That's
You
all
need
I
to look
got.
at a clock.
So I'm assuming that we're doing Tuesday for 2 days, right?
Okay, we can.
So we're good
So
on time.
he said, right, I had an honor. There was somebody doing a book, and they were like, man, I want you to, my dad had played an influential role in their life, and they were like, hey, I want you to kind of like share from your dad's story for this book. And so I'm talking to a person who is like, they're writing the book, they're transcribing the book, and they're asking me about my dad. And now this person, I don't know where their faith is or whatever. But obviously I'm talking about a pastor. So, I mean, you have to accept this. And so we get to the part, and he was trying to make my dad's life, his change of lifestyle, a process.
Yeah.
I said, no, boss. He made a different decision. Like God empowered him to make a different decision. And he was trying to be like, yo, so where did he go talk to somebody? I said, no, boss, this is 30 years ago. This is before people had people to talk to. There was nobody to talk to. There was no therapist. There was no. Like, he stopped. He was like, wait, you mean he was an alcoholic? And then he went to a rehab program. I said, no, there was no program, boss. There was no program. It was the power of God. And his calling, he needed to be cleansed for his calling. So God touched him, and he stopped. He stopped. He ceased to drink.
Yeah.
And his mind was just like,
Yeah.
but everybody needs somebody. I said, not if you have God. Like, and so we were going back and forth. But I was like, no, I'm not backing off of what happens when God touches somebody.
Right.
Now, I understand that, you may be dealing with somebody and they're like, man, I'm dealing with this struggle of alcohol. I'm telling you, man, like one touch from God will heal you, will cleanse you, will set you apart. That's how it works. You're not taking our testimonies, is what I felt in the moment.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, man. Like that's the immeasurably more. That's the infinitely beyond. That's what this generation needs to experience. That's what we are going to experience.
Yeah.
Like, no, man, no, it wasn't all of that. And but I'm saying the story because he wanted to make it something else. But if we look through scripture, like you look at this, no, it wasn't nothing else. You look at Paul, there wasn't nothing. There wasn't. No, these people, one with the issue of blood, boom. Like these things. No. I know I keep saying no. But I'm saying is, man, like the word of God tells us that God is all the while at work in us, giving us the power to do what is pleasing to God. And I would say, man, that's what makes the yoke easy and the burdens light, right? It's the fact that whatever God has for me, he's also given me the power and the desire to pursue that. And that is in relation to your walk of holiness before him. And in the fact that, man, no, he will, like God, if it needs to be instant, it will be instant. Like if he wants it to be these stages, it will. But my point is, he's got it.
He's got it.
Right?
Right. Yeah. He's got it. Like he's He's going to set the tone. He's going to set the pace. He's going to decide what needs to be cleansed.
You know how many people, I'm going to say something so very unpopular, but it's the truth. You know how many people I've had to talk out of what they did when they self-diagnosed themselves?
Yeah.
It was like you diagnosed yourself as depressed. And when you did that, you went and researched what all that means. So then about time you get around to me, because none of them things worked. And I'm like, okay, so now that we are leaning on God to do this, we're having to talk you out of what you convinced yourself of. And so it's like, I'm saying, no, don't worry about that. But that's what's leading to it. Well, no, you're going to have to not consider that. But that's what's creating this feeling. It's like I'm sitting here arguing with your flesh because you researched something God wanted to set you free from.
Yeah.
You've now diagnosed yourself and you're like, no, I'm telling you, Pastor, I'm depressed because my father left my mother and they did it at a state in my age when I was progressing. I'm like, and who said all this? Like, none of this is in the Bible. All of this is something you gained from Google.
Yeah.
And so now the cares of the world are choking out the power of God in your life. Because until all of that gets reconciled, you won't believe you're set free.
That's good. Yeah.
And you're talking to somebody who's getting paid to talk to you. I'm not making these things up. I was talking to somebody. This was not why we was here. We was meeting for something else. And we was meeting for something else, and it turned into like something was revealed that they had been going to a therapist for, paying $1,000 a clip.
Yeah.
Within two times we talked, it's like I have gotten more out of these two conversations than I've gotten out of the years I've been going to therapy. I said, listen, because my objective is your freedom.
Right.
I'm not making money every time we talk. Like, I'm not. Like, you got to understand. Like, I'm not trying to create tentacles that keep you talking to me.
Right.
And I'm also not trying to make myself your foundation of freedom. Like, you know, and they're like, well, can I just pay you? I said, no. I'll tell you what you can do. You can accept your freedom and move on. But because it had been so ingrained, and that's why I say you have to go to.
Right.
And even be very mindful when you go to Christian counselors and Christian, you know, you have got to be very mindful. Like, make sure they are financially stable before you sign up for their classes. Otherwise, them classes ain't never going to end, boss. Like, you like, just ask a few questions. Like, are your cars paid for? Is your house paid off? Like, I'm just asking some questions.
Before we start,
I know you have some questions for me, but before we start these sessions, I just need to make sure you're okay.
Right.
And I'm saying that because the cares of the world will choke you out. And here it is, God's touched you.
Yeah.
But what you're worrying about is keeping you, right? It's more mental than it is spiritual at this point. You know, it's your mind, and you've convinced yourself of things. Man, it feels like I'm just talking to somebody, but I'm just saying, man, like, no, God never lied. Who the Son sets free is free indeed.
Boom.
And man, accept your freedom. I know it
good.
means that you're gonna have to push back on some facts, but realize you're pushing back on the facts because you found the truth.
That's good. That's good.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So standard number one. I will live holy.
Man, you stopped me from reading the scripture. I love reading scriptures about Jesus because, you know, he's Jesus. But Hebrews 5:7, right? It says, while Jesus was here on the earth, he offered prayers and pleadings with a loud cry and tears to the one who could rescue him from death. Listen to this. And God heard his prayers because of his deep reverence of God.
That's good.
one of the rewards of reverence is heard and answered prayers. Like, we have to realize that God is, there's one thing I tell people, listen, man, God don't want much from us, but he does want all the honor and all the praise. That's the non-negotiable.
Yeah.
There will be no other gods lifted up above him. No other gods considered other than him. If there's one thing that God don't play about, it's all the glory and all the praise.
That's right.
Like, I get it. You know, man, think I can say that statement I told you, Pastor Mar, I wasn't going to say it?
We here.
You sure? Nah, I'm not going to say it. It's too rough.
We'll
put a little bit more word on it.
Save it for later.
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
What time is it?
10:39.
All right. Time to go.
Yeah. You want to talk about I Will Live Holy or leave that for another time?
I will live
Say
holy.
that.
First of all, I want people to understand, and I said this when I said it, that's a confession of faith.
Yeah.
That's a faith confession. Like, that's a confession of faith every day out of just your heart and your reverence of God. You know,
good.
people confess things like, man, I confess that today will be a good day. Yes, I confess and I believe that God will help me live holy. Like, it's a confession of faith. Like, like it is something that we all cannot do in our own strength. And we need immeasurably more of God, infinitely more of him to be able to live that out. And all of our lives should be witnesses of that. That, like, man, without God, I cannot live holy. It takes the power of the living God rising up inside of you to live a holy life. And I would say also that, like, and I said it before, that understand this. I said it in the service that man already screwed up God's job, right? What did man screw up? That's God's job, is letting people know what holy is for them. And we're gonna talk more about that, because I know there's a lot more word that you need in order to walk confidently in that. But understand this is that the same God who called you is the same God who will also tell you what is right and pleasing for you towards him. You know, if you heard him call you, you can also hear him administer your daily life and your daily decisions, right? You know, man, we didn't get over there, but that would have been great just to talk about, like, anyway. But yeah, I would say with that, I live holy. First, realize it's a confession of faith. God's not looking for our perfection. He's looking for our reverence. There's 10 people in this room right now. And if we ask God today, right now in this room, like, man, how can I live holy for you? We would get 10 different answers. Understand that there is no template to this, that he has a life, you know, I say it like this, like, our callings are as unique as our fingerprints. Our manuscripts, our blueprints of living holy is as unique as our fingerprints. And I'll never forget, like, I was in a conversation with somebody and they were like, hey man, you know, just asking about different things that I did naturally to grow spiritually. And I said, man, at the end of the day, I'm just not called to reach who you're called to reach. And so it was pretty plain to me, like, man, listen, the people I've been called to reach, if I do what you do, that would be offensive. Like, they wouldn't even listen to me. They wouldn't even listen to word come out of my mouth. Like, you know, but obviously the people who you're called to, like, that's cool with them. Like, and so I can see why it's not number one on your list, but number one on mine. Like, it's cool. Like, in understanding that our callings are as unique as our fingerprints. Here's the cool part, though. What you will start to discover as you are surrounded by the right community, you will share in, like, the weight. You know, like, you'll find each other saying things in conversation that, like, God was saying to you that, like, you know, like, man, I didn't tell anybody about this, and you just said something randomly that reminded me of my walk. You know, you will find those types of similarities as you're in the right community. You shouldn't be feeling like you're doing it by yourself. Like, you should be surrounded by people that make you want to live a holier life. And if you're not feeling that, like, your crew is like half. You know, you got half of them, right? I do, and I have some homies that, man. You know what? No, I'm gonna take that back. Like, some of my quote like worst homies, they make me want to live more righteous than anything. To be honest with you, like, I be looking at them like, man, I gotta finish this race. Like I'm just being honest. Like I'm like, man, I can't fall. Like, if I fall, that's all they need.
Yeah, right.
And I don't feel no pressure from it. I just feel like, man, man, I've always been that person though. Like, I'm okay. I'm okay being the responsible party. And so it's like, like I can say, man, for myself, some of my, people that I commune with, man, they too remind me that, like, yo, like, man, we need you to stay holy. I would say that'll probably be some of their words out of their mouth.
Right.
Like, yo, boss, we can't call you up and you be wrong. I mean, literally, some of them, I was their witnesses, like, I was the credible witness, character witness, right? So they needed me to stay right. Like, who else we gonna call? And when we get in trouble, that has a little bit of integrity to get us out. Like, that's you. So we need you, and they would, man, some of them, man, people will respect you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna stop talking, but I'm just saying, like, me, I hear people say things, but then I think about how it's lived out in my life. And be honest with you, like, man, none of my friends really tried to drag me in, be honest with you. I don't know what's wrong with y'all friends that they be trying to drag y'all into stuff. They literally be like, yo, Brian, you don't want to come to this.
Right.
Like they respected it. Like, like, nah, this is not for you, boss. Like, they would tell me that. I didn't like it because I felt like, we had, that's a whole nother subject, but because I felt like, yo, man, like, yo, we supposed to be homies. You going places I can't go, but out of respect, they'd be like, nah, this ain't for you. Man, but yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you, Pastor B.
A few times I went, it was not good. I'll tell y'all about that story later. But
we get that one off camera. That's good.
I went home so scared, man. That's a crazy story, but I'm out. Let me put this away.
We get to get that one off camera. It's a good one. As you go through it today, go through it knowing that God loves you. We do too. Keep attending and keep being most blessed. We'll see you soon.